everyone, and welcome to the final presentation of the day. Just firstly, I want to add my congratulations to our host, the European Regional Planning Committee, and of course the leadership of Professor Lourdes Lumba in making this a wonderful virtual conference, and so well done to everyone on a wonderful first day. For those of you that don't know me, I'm a senior lecturer in University College Cork in Ireland. You can see our campus in my background there, wonderful building. And I'm Vice President of the first Sigma chapter in Ireland, the Omega Epsilon at large. So I'm honoured to be here this evening, this afternoon, tonight, whatever time it is in your zone, to introduce our final keynote. And our final keynote of the day is Dr. Elizabeth Madigan. So just a little bit about Elizabeth first. She assumed the key executive officer position of Sigma Theta Tau International Honour Society on the 1st of November in 2017. Prior to this appointment, she was an endowed professor at the Francis Payne Bolton School of Nursing, Case Western Reserve University, Cleveland in Ohio. Her programme of research focused on home health care, reflecting her clinical practice expertise. She also led global initiatives at the Francis Payne Bolton School of Nursing and served on international and national panels for research and in-home healthcare. She graduated from Wright State University, Dayton, Ohio, and the Ohio State University with her BSN and MSc in nursing, and then received her PhD from Case Western Reserve. She's a fellow of the American Academy of Nursing and a proud member of Sigma Theta Tau. Since assuming the position of Chief Executive Officer, she had led initiatives in strengthening the scholarship offerings from Sigma, raised funds for new research grants in conjunction with partner organisations, and obtained funding to support nursing students in accelerated baccalaureate and Doctor of Nursing practice programmes. I've had the pleasure of meeting Elizabeth on several occasions, such as the Biennial Convention in Washington in 2019, and at our Omega Epsilon induction ceremony in Ireland in 2018. Her positivity and passion for leadership in nursing at all levels is inspiring, and I'm really looking forward to listening to her keynote today on Sigma's contribution to global nursing. So just before Elizabeth gets started, I just want to say that she has agreed to take questions at the end. So we can use the Zoom group chat feature if you like. I can collate some of the questions that I see as they come up, or we can also take them in real time if preferable. So I'll just hand you over now to Elizabeth, and thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Nicola, and thank you to the organizers of the conference. It's been a great day. It's been a great day, and I hope you are as happy as those of us who are attending are with how things have gone. So like the other presenters, I regret that we couldn't be there in person and actually see the beautiful city of Coimbra and the wonderful campus, but we'll get there at some point. Just watch and see. I do want to sort of let you know that my presentation's recorded, and so at the end of the recorded presentation, then there will be time for questions, and I'll be watching the chat box as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to do that. You'll notice that some of the things that I have said, Rick has already said. That's sort of by design because we know that people come and go, excuse me, from these virtual conferences. And so that in some respects, some of the things are going to be similar, but there are also things that are different. So I'm spending most of my presentation talking about what Sigma has to offer all of you. For some of you who are longtime members, you're going to say, why is she covering this? It's because some of the people attending are not members, and we want to make sure they understand who we are. So with that, I'll turn it over and they can start my recorded presentation.
Just 1 second, please. Já está, desculpa, já está.
The Chief Executive Officer from Sigma Theta Tau. It's my pleasure to be with you today to talk about what's going on in the European region, as well as what's going on with headquarters and how we can all work together. I appreciate being here, and I appreciate everything that we were able to do to make this all happen. So let me get started here. Here are the things I'm going to talk about. I'm going to give you also a little bit of information about our response to COVID-19 at the end of the presentation. For those of you who aren't aware of Sigma, maybe you don't know about us, we are an organization of nurse leaders. We have more than 135,000 members in more than 50 chapters now from more than 100 countries. We are focused on developing nurse leaders by providing recognition, education, and global opportunities. So our new mission and vision, this was released last November. Our vision is our aspiration, or who we want to be, connected, empowered nurse leaders transforming global healthcare. Our mission statement and what we do to do that is we develop nurse leaders anywhere to improve healthcare everywhere. Our strategic goals are really designed to recognize and promote nursing scholarship, leadership, and service, to really grow in value for nurses globally by amplifying what nurses do. We're looking for strategic relationships to expand as well as to develop, and we're really looking for customized resources to develop nurse leaders. You can hear that the nurse leader piece is very important. That's our focus area. So let me talk to you about Sigma in Europe. So in case you're not aware, we were founded in 1922, and right now we have chapters in we have 11 chapters with more than 460 members in Europe. We are delighted to report that we have 2 new chapters who just chartered this month, Croatia, Alpha Alpha Gamma, and Italy, Alpha Alpha Beta. In the last couple years, we've also had chapters charter in Scotland, Omega Xi. We've had the chapter in Israel, Omega Lambda, and the chapter in Ireland, Omega Epsilon. So we're glad to have these chapters join. In addition, we have 2 new chapters that are in development and that are working on their applications, one in Hungary and one in Finland. So we look forward at the next European Regional Conference to having our Hungarian colleagues and our Finnish colleagues with us. I'll remind you that Sigma is not specific to a setting or role. We welcome and connect nurses across different specialties, whether they're in clinical or academic settings. And we are really globally unique in many ways. We're the largest nursing organization that allows members to join as individuals. So to be a part of other organizations, in many cases, you have to be part of a country-based organization. We're the largest global nursing organization that's not specific to a particular clinical setting or into a different kind of practice setting. So what do? Well, one of the things we do is we celebrate nursing excellence, and I want to give you some examples from the European region. First is chapter excellence, and you can see our regional coordinator, Marie-Louise Leaking here. She's with Pat Thompson, who's the former CEO, as well as President Kathy Catrambone. And they've won multiple chapter key awards, and they won the Ethel Palmer Clark Award for chapter excellence. Individual excellence is another thing we recognize. One of our highest awards is the Episteme Award, and Dr. Steinblatt won that in 2019. He gave a great presentation on the application of evidence into practice and the cautions that one needs to take. As well, we've recognized a Distinguished Lifetime Achievement Award with Damien Von Moors in 2017. And these are only examples. We've had multiple examples over the years of individual excellence from European nurses. Our International Nurse Researcher Hall of Fame is held in conjunction with our International Nursing Research Congress every year. In the past 11 years, we've had more than 220 nurses from around the world inducted into the Hall of Fame. It really is designed for the highest levels of achievement in nursing research and scholarship. And we're really delighted to have a number of European nurses. Coming into this year's class in July will be Professor Renora Hundley and Professor Susan Latter. But they join other nurses who've come into the European Nurse Leaders Hall of Fame, and it's not specific to a certain region. It really is a global Hall of Fame, but we're delighted to have our European colleagues. So Professor Brendan McCormick is one of them, and you can see that he's identified that one of the things that helped his career is some of the work groups that he led and participated in. It really helps you connect around the globe, and that's one of the things we're most proud of, is that you can really connect with other nurses around the globe. We do have an Emerging Nurse Researcher Award. This is given at every year at International Nursing Research Congress. We give one award per region, and so we would encourage you to nominate emerging nurse researchers from your region for this award. We would be delighted to recognize their achievements. We have had one European nurse, and that's Dr. Parfim Azam Ali, who is from the University of Sheffield, and she won in 2017. And here's her picture. So we support scholarship in many ways. I'm going to talk about a number of the ways that we support scholarship. So one is with the Circle, and I'm not sure if you know that the Circle is not just for clinical. This is a member-only discussion board, and while many of the Circle groups are focused on clinical topics, there is a new nursing research community. It has 447 members. It's quite active. There's a lot of discussion in the Circle group among nurse researchers about how they do their work, methodologies, perils and pitfalls, questions for each other. It's really a great opportunity to get involved with other nurse researchers. If you can join as many Circle groups as you'd like. So if you also want to join one of the clinical groups or the nurse educator group, you're welcome to do so. If you have an idea for a group on the Circle that you'd like to talk to us about, please let us know. We'd be glad to talk with you about that. We're very proud of our peer-reviewed journals and our books. So let me talk to you about our journals first. So the Journal of Nursing Scholarship and Worldviews on Evidence-Based Nursing are our two journals. Journal of Nursing Scholarship is 51 years old, and it has an impact factor of 3 among all the 120 journals worldwide in the nursing science category. We're very happy with that impact factor. Every issue of Journal of Nursing Scholarship includes at least one open access article, and this is truly a research journal. This is really focused very much on research. Our companion journal, Worldviews on Evidence-Based Nursing, has an impact factor of 7 among the 120 nursing journals. And we're really happy to also note that this is focused on evidence-based nursing and implementation science. And every issue includes at least one open access article. Our journal editors are terrific. So the Journal of Nursing Scholarship is edited by Dr. Susan Gennaro, and Worldviews is edited by Dr. Bernadette Melnick. Both are world-renowned, and both are very helpful in terms of Sigma events and making themselves available to talk with people about how to get their manuscripts published. At many of our events, we have time with our journal editors where they can talk about the things that are challenging for writers and how you can transcend some of these challenges. In many cases, there are themed issues. So there was recently a themed issue from the Journal of Nursing Scholarship that has had a special editor, Dr. Sabina de Geest, focused on implementation science. Keep an eye on the calls for special edits or special editions, because it may be an opportunity for you to get a focused area of research published. The other thing is both journals are also seeking experienced reviewers. They're very interested in making sure that we cover the globe in terms of nursing science, and so there's always an interest in having reviewers from the European region. Please reach out to either journal editor and let them know you're interested, and they can explain to you what's required in terms of qualifications and how you might get involved. But there's always a need for more reviewers, especially experienced reviewers. We're very proud of our books. We do 12 to 14 books per year. One of the measures of the success of the books is whether they win awards from the American Journal of Nursing. So we're very proud that our small publishing house of 12 to 14 books routinely wins American Journal of Nursing Books of the Year award. And each year we get something. This tells you authors. What's new, and we were glad to sort of present all sides of the argument to let you decide what you want to do about preprints and where you fall. Our second range of topics was on bullying and incivility. For these podcasts, these are generally a series of podcasts, so it's not just a 20-minute segment. Most of these have multiple segments. And in bullying and incivility, we talked about different forms of bullying and incivility in nursing and what you can do about it. There was a series of podcasts on doctoral education in nursing. This was actually very interesting to learn about how doctoral education is done differently in different parts of the world. I know I learned a lot. And our most recent one is on predatory journals with two of our European members, Professor Roger Watson and Professor Mark Hayter, talking about predatory journals, what to watch out for, why these are so bad, and what you should do if you find your name on an editorial board. At the bottom of this slide, I have the information about the Sigma repository, and all of our podcasts are on the Sigma repository. I'll talk more about the repository in a couple slides. So our research events.
Can anybody hear me?
Our events are high energy and welcoming environments where we have nurse leaders from all over the world who actually connect, support, network, share, learn from each other. It's a great opportunity to get to know nurses from other places, especially nurse scientists. Each one of our events has hundreds of posters and oral research presentations, and we make the materials available on the repository afterwards from all the authors who've given us permission to do so. What some people don't realize is that we have Rising Star sessions for students, and these are students at all levels. And so this is the first opportunity for many of these nurses to actually present their materials. In some cases, these are research posters. In other cases, they could be about programs or other kinds of things. So it doesn't have to be about just research. We also have taken our Research Congress virtual. Just like you had to do, we had to do a quick pivot, and the International Nursing Research Congress for 2020 is going to be a virtual event. It's going to be July 22nd through 24th. We have made accommodations to make sure the time frames work for many of you, so it's not going to be just certain time zones. We are covering as much of the globe as we can. We are absolutely doing our International Nurse Researcher Hall of Fame induction this year, just like always. We're not going to lose the opportunity to recognize that excellence. We will have Facebook Live sessions, and we will have all the materials available in the Sigma repository. So we're delighted to let you know that Professor Sabina de Geest, who I mentioned earlier, is going to be doing one of our plenaries on implementation science. We also have Dr. Fatima Arafai, who's from the United Arab Emirates, who's going to talk about nursing in the Emirates. Our biennial convention is held every 2 years in the United States. We just finished up in Washington, D.C. in November of last year. In 2021, we will be in Indianapolis, kicking off our 100th celebration, 100th anniversary celebration. Our convention is our biggest event. We have more than 1,200 posters and oral research presentations. You can meet representatives from every Sigma chapter, as well as every region of the world where we have chapters. We also have Facebook Live sessions there, and again, after the event, the materials are posted in the Sigma repository for you to use freely. The Facebook Live sessions are really designed to help provide some background. So at each of our events, some of our presenters are interviewed about sort of the context behind their science or what they learned or some things that you might not have heard if you just attended the oral session or you saw the poster. We're really trying to provide some sense about the context of what actually happens in terms of the work that's being done. So open right now is a Research Congress, and that's the one that is virtual. Connection is really designed for our chapter leaders and to give them tips, tricks, hints, support, ideas, education on different kinds of leadership that might be helpful with leading a chapter. I've mentioned the repository. Let me tell you a little bit more about it. So the Sigma repository used to be called the Virginia Henderson e-repository. And the name change was only to make sure that it was recognized as Sigma. We still recognize and revere Miss Henderson in a very deep way. And we have information about her on the repository for anyone who wants to know more. The interesting thing about the repository is that you keep the copyright. So you have total control over your work. As well, it's freely searchable by any nurse or any person anywhere in the world. as well as it's free to submit, it's free to use, there is no charge at all. This is supported by longstanding philanthropic funding, and you also have the opportunity to keep track of the statistics. So this is important because you can keep track when you submit something to the repository about how many times it's been downloaded, and you can then quantify the dissemination of your work. We do take research as well as evidence-based practice materials, posters, videos, lots of different formats. It's not just text-based. Now I'd like to talk about research grants. So our research grants is really focused on supporting nursing research and evidence-based practice. We think we gave the first grant in 1936 for nursing, although we can't quite prove it was the first one ever. But we'd like to be able to claim that because it's important to support nurse scientists along the course of their career. The grants are made possible. So I'm going to continue live here. We're trying to get my my slides to share.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Just let me know if I can help in any way.
Nicola, if you have the slides, you might want to bring them up. For whatever reason, it's not letting me share my slides.
Okay, I'll try. I just see the transfer there, so just to hold off a second, I'll try and bring them up.
I'm sorry about that. So I'll go on. And so as Rick talked briefly about, we gave the first research grant in 1936. So in the past 2 years, we've given more than $460,000 US in research grants. We have a lot of different kinds of research grants, and I'd encourage you to look at the research grant page because we have multiple deadlines that occur each year. So we have deadlines in April, May, July, February. The grant I want to talk to you about really is the small research grants. I think that's where there is the most flexibility. These are really very wide open, and so they range from basic science. We've had research grants we funded that have used animal models all the way through population health. These are $5,000 US, and we give 10 to 15 every year. These are really sort of our broadest categories, and so I would encourage you to look at those. That's a December 1st deadline. What are reviewers looking for with our research grants? The research reviewers are looking like reviewers look for every kind of research grant, which is exactly what eligibility criteria there are. Is there a thread that comes through from the purpose through the methods and the analysis? Is it possible that we could then actually have a consistent approach throughout the study, because that's what they're looking for. So the same rigor applies as applies to all other kinds of research. We've had a number of European grant recipients. I'm going to name a couple of them. I don't want to, this is not an exhaustive list. This is just a quick look. Louise Strickland from Alpha Epsilon chapter in the United Kingdom received a small grant in 2016. Brigitte Heckeman, also in 2016 from Tau Omega chapter in the Netherlands. And then finally, Siobhan O'Connor from Phi Mu chapter in the United Kingdom received a 2017 award. The other thing I want to point out is that there have been a number of researchers from the European region that presented the Sigma events. So between 2017 and 2019, there have been 56 poster or podium presentations at Sigma Convention or at the International Nursing Research Congress. So while Sigma European members represent less than 1% of all Sigma members, they represent 6% of the Sigma event attendees. And so you really do what we call, in short, punch above your weight, which is that you have a great influence within the organization. So finally, I want to talk about how we connect globally. So one of the ways we connect globally is through our work at the United Nations. And we're really happy about that. We're really proud of our status within the UN, because within our UN status, what we're able to do is actually represent the voice of nursing at the United Nations. We have is what's called economic and social consultative status. And so this gives us the opportunity to have representatives at the United Nations to provide statements. In some cases, we provide statements in conjunction with other NGOs, and we're really proud of that work. The other thing that we've done is we've had a number of affiliate relationships. So we are on the executive committee for the World Health Organization Collaborating Center Global Network for Nursing and Midwifery Collaborating Centers. As well, we are affiliate members with the International Council of Nurses, and so we're very proud of these global relationships. The other thing I want to talk about is that we actually have leadership development programs that are, I think, of interest. What we've done with our leadership development programs is we're updating those. So rather than so much intense time in person, these leadership development programs are now more hybrids. So there's a couple days in person, and then the rest is done virtually. As you can see from this conference, with my exception, the virtual conference works great. So the piece that's important for our leadership development programs is that they have an experiential component. We have 15 years of experience to indicate that just learning it cognitively is not enough, that you actually need to implement what you do in a leadership development program to actually learn the leadership skills. We're very proud of these, and we also are developing some new ones that are going to be virtual only, that are going to really be focused primarily on publication and grant writing. So I would encourage you to take a look at our leadership development programs. If you go to the Sigma website, you'll find it under the Sigma Academies. So we call these academies. The other thing that we've done is, and we're very proud of this, is we are part of the Nightingale Challenge. So this is a group of young nurses working with Nursing Now. We're expecting about 20 Nightingale Challenge nurses. We ended up with 29. And so these young nurses, and it's defined by Nursing Now as age 35 or younger. And we have nurses from the European region involved here. They are participating in webinars that are leadership development focused. That's part of the intent. The other piece that we're doing is they have online continuing professional development, and they also have a mentor that they're working on. So you're going to hear more from our Nightingale Challenge nurses as the year proceeds, because we would very much like for them to get out to the community, especially the Sigma community, what they've learned is in terms of leadership. The final piece I'll talk about, and because I know my time is short, is what we've done in response to COVID-19. So if you haven't been on the Sigma website lately, please go to the main Sigma website, sigmanursing.org. At the top of that page, you'll find a link to Sigma is Here for You. In the Sigma is Here for You page, we have a variety of resources that we've pulled together on quick order. We've had a series of webinars that have been very successful. We started out with communications. We've done a series of webinars on ethics. We focused on nurses transitioning from the graduate into practice. As you heard in this, and from Professor DeCaro this morning, there were many nurses who were finishing their academic programs and who got put into practice very quickly. So we've decided to do programs for them. We've had all kinds of opportunities with some of our courses that we've made available. We've also provided podcasts. These are all open to nurses anywhere, so it's not just Sigma members. And so I would encourage you to look at what we've done there. If you have ideas, please let us know. And from that, I will stop there and we can take questions. I'm sorry about the technical issues. I'll be glad to share my slides with anyone who wants them. And we'd be glad to share. I'll be glad to put things in the chat if you'd like, in terms of web links and some of those kinds of things. Nicola, I'll give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. And I'm sorry about that as well, just that the slides aren't showing, but I don't think you needed the crutch. It was excellent presentation, and all we needed was your voice. So thank you so much. And I suppose we heard a lot today about nursing being described as the backbone of healthcare. And I suppose it's clear from your presentation that Sigma provides that essential scaffolding to support nurses in their education, research and practice role, just through some of the initiatives that you mentioned, and some of the features within and being involved in the Sigma community, such as the awards, global connection events, the leadership development program, which is fantastic to hear about, the mentorship program, and so on. So thank you, Elizabeth, for sharing those highlights with us. And I'll open it to the floor if there's anyone would like to have some questions. I see in the chat here, there's some chat. Jan is commenting on the virtual leadership opportunities. Delighted to see those. and Thomas is commenting as well. So if anyone would like to ask a question, feel free to do so. We have a few moments. I might just ask, Elizabeth, is there plans to do special editions, kind of a COVID special editions around the journals?
Yeah, the journal editors are indicating that they're already getting a lot of manuscripts on COVID. They're looking to make sure that they meet the level of rigor. Some of what they've received so far has been very preliminary, and of course that's where we are in the crisis, right? We haven't had enough time yet to actually get some of the things. But yes, there certainly are discussions about that in terms of making the journals with special editions. I think as we go forward with this, we're going to find increasingly there are mental health issues related to clinicians, and I think that's one of the things that we're hearing a lot from members is the mental health implications of working through the epidemic, through the pandemic, and how that's impacting our clinicians. And so I think you should expect to see more on that as well.
Okay. Yeah, I think Sigma is an excellent forum in which to, I suppose, illustrate and profile the work that nurses have done and are continuing to do throughout this pandemic. And I just know ourselves, I coordinate a module for our postgraduate gerontological nurses who work in long-term care settings. And one of their final assignments in the last 2 weeks was to reflect on how they've implemented guidelines and how they've managed in practice and just their leadership role. And they have just been absolutely outstanding and a pleasure to read. And there's such learning and sharing that could take place in relation to those reflections. It would be lovely to see them, shared in a forum like Sigma. And I know, Marie-Louise, there's European movement in relation to that in the sharing of stories. So that's great.
So there's a question in the chat box about the global regional councils, I think. Part of what happened is we decided to put that on pause during the midst of the pandemic because it seemed to us that trying to pull too many people together when there were so many things happening was not good timing. So you'll be hearing more from us about the global regional councils. The global regional councils are how Sigma actually tries to make sure that we're getting what we need from each one of the regions. You have a very strong region, as you know. You have a lot of activities going on, this conference being an example. And so we're really happy to support and hear from you what we can do to best support the work you're doing. But we also know that there are other regions where we don't hear as much from, and the global regional councils are really designed to give us an opportunity to hear what's going on in the region and how we can be most helpful, but also to share what we're doing. As you know, from even those of you who've been in the organization for any period of time, there's a lot going on, and I only covered some of the things. So there are other things that are going on that aren't really covered here because we have so many programs and activities. It's an opportunity for dialogue.
Can I ask a question, Nicola? It's Joy Merrill from Wales. Hello, Liz.
Thank you, Joy.
Hello. Thank you for your presentation. Yes, I'd like to pick up on the global regional councils because when we were at convention, there was a suggestion that it would be very helpful if the global regional councils had the opportunity to network together. Because we learn a lot, like from these conferences, we learned a lot about Italy and what's happening around the world. And it seems a missed opportunity. And we could do that virtually if we just had the connections to enable us to do that. Is that something that Sigma could facilitate?
Sure. The challenge for us, Joy, is trying to get everybody together at a time that works because of the trying to cover a global organization. There's never a time that works for everyone. So we're still trying to figure out how to best do that. It may be that we need to try it in not just a virtual way in terms of live, but an asynchronous way. So it's certainly under discussion, and thank you for the suggestion.
Good, thank you. And can I just ask one supplementary? I think one of the benefits of COVID has been that we've gone into more online and virtual. I know it's not quite the same as face-to-face, but in terms of members who are outside North America, it actually enables us to access very easily and equitably a lot of the benefits from Sigma. And I'm very pleased that you're going to be offering some of the conferences virtually. Is this something that's going to be planned into the future? Obviously looking at whether what we're doing here in Europe is a success, which at the moment the first day looks wonderful. But is that something that Sigma is actively looking at? So we exploit the technology to our advantage.
So you know, my experience from this conference, from our International Nursing Research Congress in July that we're doing virtually, is that I think going forward, only in-person conferences are probably not going to work anymore. We have to have virtual options of some kind. Now, what that looks like, of course, is going to depend on the conference. But I think COVID has changed things from that perspective in ways that we quite haven't all figured out yet.
Yes, and finances are going to be increasingly tight for everybody.
Exactly.
Thank you.
So and just to point out, so those of you who, so the International Nursing Research Congress in July that was supposed to be held in Abu Dhabi, because we're doing it virtually, and because we want to make sure that we can get as many people as possible, the price is very different than the in-person conference. And so I would encourage you to look at that, especially if you have students, because the student price is very affordable.
That's great. Thank you, Elizabeth, and thanks for highlighting the research conference as well. We're really paving the way here, I think, with the European regional ones. So we'll all start getting used to virtual conferences and congresses, which, you know, is the new way of working, isn't it? So I think we'll draw this session to a close, unless there's any other burning questions. I'm sure Elizabeth would be happy to take them through the app, perhaps, tomorrow as the conference progresses. So I might just hand you over to Professor Lourdes to close day one of our virtual conference. Thank you.
I think we would like, if my being quite rude, obviously, to break in, I'd like to apologise for not being able to show the John Hopkins video earlier. I technically here was a little beyond me. But what I'd like to mention is that John Hopkins University